Hello, hi everyone. Um, Good afternoon. My name is Prem Phyak. Thank you for joining us today. We are 18, including myself. So thank you once again for joining us. Today, I'll be talking of um, writing a good essay from ideas to organization. So basically, I will be focusing on what are the characteristics of a good essay and how can you write a good essay, basically for your DSE. Um, but just quick overview of what I will be talking about. So the first question that I will be addressing is what constitute a good essay, and different types of essays that you are expected to write, and generating ideas. So what are the sources of ideas for your essay writing, right? So there are multiple sources of ideas that you can build on to write your essay. So I will be sharing some of my experiences related to generating ideas. And finally, I will briefly talk about organizing your ideas in the form of writing. So that's my outline. So I will be talking for half an hour, and then I will address your questions. So before I start my talk, so it's a quick disclaimer and announcement. So first, just to introduce the purpose of our DSC talk series. So it basically aims to offer secondary school students additional support in understanding text skills, themes of the English and literature in English, DSC. So this talk series focuses on writing, and the next talk series is on 30, yeah, 31st of March, 4:30 p.m. And Professor Jukian Chong will be talking about how do our eyes move when we read. So it's basically focused on reading. So just one quick disclaimer again, we don't know what the DSE model answers are, but here we are just talking about these things from our own perspective as professors in this field. For example, in the field of writing for me, and rather than a DSC specialist who know what the markers want actually, we focus more on our expert opinion on what writing and reading actually means, and how can we support you in your reading and writing, right? So just to give a brief introduction of our department, English department at Chinese University of Hong Kong offers different courses, undergraduate, postgraduate, both taught and research courses in English literature and applied linguistics. So when you say applied linguistics, it's about language teaching, learning, and analyzing languages in relation to society, culture, identities. So yes, these are the brief introductions and the disclaimers before I start my talk. Okay. So let me begin with common misconceptions about writing an essay. Uh, when we talk with students, based on my own experiences, I see that. So these are three common misconceptions. Students basically have. Not only students, all writers have basically. One is the first most common one is big words make an essay strong, right? So when you use really big words, very complex words, so they make your essay strong. So at surface it sounds fine, but it's not only the big words that make your essay strong, right? There are many other things that should be considered. But most importantly, in terms of the use of words, it should be really appropriate and make sense. in the context where you are using these words. So not necessarily always big words, but the most appropriate words that should be used in an essay. And another misconception is an essay cannot be creative. So most students say that, okay, I think I should not be really creative, but I should just use very formulaic and formal language, which is okay. But you can be creative, right? You can be imaginative, and you can use different creative tools to make your essay really attractive, right? And more um, you know you know that really grabs the attention of the readers. So you can be creative, right? But there are different tools to be creative. So I will be sharing some of the tools that may be really helpful. Another misconception is essays should not include personal opinions, right? Uh, it should not be, there are different kinds of essays, and yes, at some point in some kinds of essays, basically, if you are writing more kind of like descriptive essays, maybe not really strong opinions, personal opinions. But if you are writing argumentative essays, so there is always room for personal opinions, right? So it depends, what type of essay that you are writing. Um, there are different types of essays. As I said, expository essays are more like informative writing about a topic. So here you describe the topic with the help of facts and data, details, and examples related to topic. And the descriptive essays are essays that describes a specific place, person, and object. And there are narrative essays as well, so that tell stories and experiences of people, right? Or about place, anything. So this is more like telling stories, right? And argumentative essays are the essays that engage, that require writers to make arguments and counter arguments, with the help of evidence and support. So it's basically about making arguments and counter arguments, right? It's more like, what do you think about a specific topic, and what is your position actually, right? So, a good essay, right? So, I think, what is good essay and what is bad essay. You, there is nothing like, the specific definition of a good essay, but there are characteristics that make an essay good, a better one. Basically three characteristics. If as a reader, if I read an essay, I expect, let's say, three major dimensions in the writing. The first one is clarity. I always look for clarity, right? As a reader, let's say, um, if I'm reading an essay, I expect that there is a clear thesis statement. What is the point that the writer is making, right? And the thesis statement is your argument in the paper. So basically, it is written in the first paragraph of essay, in short essays, right? And there are explicit topic sentences that articulate the main idea of each paragraphs, right? So basically, two basic things make your arguments and essay clearer. So one is thesis statement, and another is, different paragraphs have really well articulated topic sentences, really explicit topic sentences. And the next important dimensions that I look, if I'm reading an essay, is organization, right? So how ideas are connected. So whether there are too many ideas, but they are not connected. There are little ideas, but they are really, really well connected and well explained. So I think rather than having too many ideas and not really connected and randomly presented, so that make an essay uh, really random, and it doesn't make your writing good. So the ideas should be well connected, and each idea um, should have really smooth transition, right? When you are moving to another idea. So in other words, there must be really smooth transition from one paragraph to another paragraph. So another criterion that make an essay good is focus. So sometimes what happens is, it happens to all, to all writers, right? If we are writing something, we'd like to really bring ideas, but those ideas are too general, right? And obvious, right? They are not really specific to the topic, right? So it's really important to make ideas really specific. Sometimes you may have too many ideas. So, and it's really important to sort out what are the really specific ideas in short essays that you're writing. And also it's really, your essay should really help readers understand that you are responding to the prompt, right? So what the prompt actually expects from you. So that's why the most important thing to address these three dimensions of good essay is reading the prompt very carefully, and you know sorting out the idea. So you may have too many information, before you start writing. So, but it's really important to sort out. So what ideas are actually more relevant to the prompt, right? So it's really important to read the prompt very carefully. And let me talk about the sources of idea. So oftentimes, the writers are stuck, right? Um, so one of the major reasons that studies have shown is because they don't have enough ideas. They don't have really sufficient ideas to write about the topic, right? Um, so that's why it's really important to think of the sources of ideas, right? So what ideas you are trying to put together in your essay. So as a writer, so you should be really prepared with some really important ideas, right? So one of the sources of idea, um, generating ideas is observation, right? It's really important to observe, what is happening, right? For example, it could be related, you can observe social media, for example, technology. So what is happening, what are the information that you can find really interesting in social media, different cultures of different people as well, right? Culture doesn't just mean, cultural practices, but also like behaviors and language practices and other things, right? And also the activities. So what is happening around, right? So it's, you know, and also, for example, this is from my article that I wrote in 2015. This is about, language practices, or in other words, language ideologies in Facebook, right? In 2015, when I was really into Facebook, for example, I found that there is, there are some really interesting things happening in Facebook with my friends, for example, right? For example, they were using not only English, but also other different languages, right? They were not really feeling restricted, right? They were very, they feel really free to express their opinions about language practices and their feelings. So, okay, yes, maybe I should write something about this. And I call it like encountering language ideologies, language policing in the idioscape space of Facebook. So this was published in Language Policy Journal. So it's different academic article. But what I'm trying to say here is, this kind of like small anecdotes can really be helpful to organize your ideas and make your essay strong. And for example, these are the two excerpts that I got from Facebook chat. For example, I don't care about my language. I just care which language is spoken in the world the most and which language has value in the market as per the time demand. I don't I don't holler about anything because I don't want anything. I prefer to write in an international language so that my all friends, so this is what he wrote, can understand what I'm sharing and learning, and they can also share their views with me, right? And the next participant says, okay, do you know in the complex world we are obliged to use a common language to run the nation state's daily business, embrace the flow of globalization, and enjoy the benefits of global knowledge, science, and technology. Now, there is an increasing interest in learning English, Chinese, Hindi, European languages, but people do not speak their own language. If we look at this trend, the common language spoken by 30 million Nepalese is in danger, and don't even talk about other small languages. So here, like, I was just really interested in this, why people are, arguing for the use of English in Facebook. So which is like, which is called language ideologies in our field. So what I'm saying is, this is the source of data, right? This helped me organize my ideas and, and make arguments that, Facebook, although there are other languages used on Facebook, it's still English is the dominant language, right? So there are other sources of ideas as well, and one is interaction. So you can talk about a specific topic with friends and families and teachers, right? Um, they are always useful. You can get really insightful ideas sometimes, and also reading, like reading books and reading anything, like reading books or reading materials online. So they are really helpful. And also research, you can do some research in the internet, and you can also do some research by reading previous publications. um, but how to, how to really convert ideas into your essay, right? Or how to put them together in the form of essay. So there are different ways. Based on my own experience, one is, try to sort out and use them to support your arguments in the essay. So basically, these ideas, which ideas actually match and fit in uh, with the prompts, right? And sometimes even you can use those ideas in the form of anecdote, right? For example, a story. Okay, I met someone, uh, you know, uh, in Hong Kong, or in university, or I had a conversation with my family members, something like that, right? It will be, it will help. And also factual data. Sometimes from your research, you can find some like number, and the factual data to write about a topic. So that could be really, really useful. So that's how you really organize your ideas in the form of data, right? So once you have ideas, and it will be, easier to write an essay. So that's why what I talked about is, process is really important, and sometimes it's really important to have really innovative ideas. You cannot really just start writing essay, right? um, without ideas and some like basic understanding about the topic, right? So now, how to really organize these ideas into the form of an essay, for example, right? So basically, as you know, there are three general, um, components. The first one is introduction. So which basically is first paragraph of an essay, which it includes hook and very brief background information of the topic. and your thesis statement. So what do you want to argue? So basically three moves. So you have hook. Basically, hook could be like starting with really interesting quotes and sometimes very simple, you know, general statement about the topic, right? And then provide a little bit explanation, and then what do you want to argue in the paper, or what is your position in the paper. You can sometimes you can say that, okay, this is my position, but you don't have to, right? You don't have to say that I want to argue this, but you can state in the in a sentence, right? So introduction and then body. So this is really important part of essay. So basically, it includes different paragraphs. For example, and those paragraphs are constructed in three different elements. For example, topic sentence, and topic sentence is basically what do you want to argue in the paragraph, or what are you discussing in paragraph, and develop that topic sentence with the help of examples and evidence, right? And then summarize with by indicating what are you going to discuss next, right? So I give this, you can see this image of sandwich, right? The first layer, the bread, is topic sentence, and then you have these ingredients, right, which is like examples and evidence, and then conclude the paragraph with some kind of uh, indication of what you are going to discuss in next paragraph, right? And then finally, the conclude the whole essay, right? So the conclusion is not just a summary of what you have discussed before, but you need to really restate your thesis statement in different wordings, basically. So what did you argue in the beginning, and what did you do throughout the essay? And also highlight the main points. What are the main points that you have discussed? And conclude with the sentence that grabs the reader's attention. So that is really, really important. So sometimes you can say, okay, then I argue this, or it could be this. You can say something about the implication, or you can also maybe just ask, leave some questions, or something that really grabs the attention of the reader. Mostly you can say, okay, this could be some kind of implications, right? The writers highlight some kind of implications as well in the conclusion, but it should be something that really grabs the attention of the readers, right? Now, what do the readers expect actually from your essay then, right? Even if you have like three different components, introduction, body, and conclusion, so it may not be really good essay, but within these elements, so there must be some basic considerations. So the first one is voice. That is always important. In other words, point of view. That is what readers basically expect. For example, if I have to read an essay, someone's essay, I always look for the voice. For example, this is the example that I gave you. So, for example, the football is a group game. So it's a simple sentence, but it's very common, right? It's a group game, and you don't have to really, you know, claim it, right? It's a group game. But if you say football to me is not just a game, but a community building activity, right? It's the same thing, right? But you have restated in different ways. For example, football to me. So it's to me. So it makes like, your voice more explicit. So, and your point of view about football, right? So, and also, so while making your voice explicit, it's really important to focus on the phrases and vocabulary, appropriate phrases and vocabulary. For example, this one is, when I first arrived in the hotel, I got a friendly welcome reception from my host. It was very special for me. For example, first, right? When I first arrived in the hotel, I got friendly welcome reception, and it was very special for me. So most often, if you just say like, I got really special reception. So it may not be really that explicit, right? So, but when you say when I first arrived in the hotel, I got friendly. So just try to make your voice as explicit as possible. That and the next thing is style. So writing style is always important. Your presentation, how do you present, right? So the one is it depends on the type of essay. In narrative, your style will be more like storytelling. In descriptive, it's more like descriptive. Argumentative, so more like critical, counter arguments and arguments. But in general, your style should be really, attractive, right? So that should attract the attention of readers. So there are different ways to do this. So one is definitely word choice. You can use different words to indicate hedges. For example, certain, definite, clear, probable, possible. If you are not really sure about the argument, you can basically use, possibly and possible. Like there are other ways. For example, often, sometimes, usually, seem, tend, look like, appear to be. All these things are, helpful words to make your language kind of more um, softer, right? So also use a variety of syntax, right? Don't use just one kind of like simple sentence. Sometimes mix uh, simple sentence with complex sentence, and there should be kind of varieties, right? You can practice it, and I find it really useful myself. Sometimes I use really complex sentence and followed by simple sentence and try to again play with the sentence make it more complex, right? And also don't forget to use hedges, right? Hedges helps a lot. For example, uh, this is the sentence that I wrote. Joining a football team possibly helps you find more friends, right? One research study conducted by X someone suggests that players have shown more sociable and collaborative skill than other players, right? For example, one recent study conducted by X suggests, right? It's like suggests. So this kind of hedges will help you make your essay stronger. Word choice, yeah, as I said, style and even the word choice matters. So it's not the big words always that counts, but how you use them, whether you use them appropriately or there are variations in the word choice. So if you are repeating the same word again and again, so that may not really give a good impression. For example, if you are writing about restaurant, uh, then you need to be familiar with the words related to food service or food items, price, taste, delicacy, authenticity of food, right? So that's important. But it's a rule of thumb. So, avoid using stock phrases. I'm sorry, it should be phrases. So, for example, in a nutshell, it is crystal clear that, and last but not least, these phrases are often used in essays, but they are stock, right? Uh, as far as possible, avoid using them. As we all know that, why should you write if if it is known for all, right? So and another thing is when your writing should really you know help readers feel that you are really invested in writing. So what makes that you are really invested in the writing process? So one is your essay has detailed information. You elaborate the topic with evidence and data, and your essay really visualizes that you are actually fully into the topic and you understand the topic. uh, for example, you describe physical material and other conditions. Mostly if you are writing about this, writing descriptive or narrative essays, it should really visualize what you are writing about, right? and also imaginative, right? You use some kind of creativity and imagination in about the topic, right? I will talk about how to make it. Yeah. So, and then some quick some other ideas. So one is transitions are really important. So transitions basically summarize a paragraph and reminds the readers what is coming next, right? It is not only, just summarizing the paragraph, but also indicates what is coming next. And transitions help the readers anticipate what you are doing, what you are going to discuss. There are different ways to maintain transition. One is like using different, words that describe temporality, for example, after, before, meanwhile, and when the contrast, nonetheless, yet, still, sequence, mostly, like first, second, similarly, and furthermore, all those things. And one thing that I would like to highlight before I conclude is a rebuttal skill is also important aspect of writing an essay. So basically, rebuttal, particularly if you are writing argumentative essay, but it doesn't always have to be in argumentative essay. You can use your rebuttal skills in other types of essays as well. Basically, arguments and counter arguments, right? And again, arguments. For example, here, so this is from, again, my article. Um Bast, he's the Facebook user, view shows that the market-based justification of English language dominance has created a stratified order of languages in which indigenous and ethnic minority languages remain at the bottom. However, the group members from different indigenous ethnic groups constantly challenge such ideologies and continue to promote discourses concerning minority languages, right? So here, so this is the description of what people are doing in Facebook. uh, but this is just one point of view, and again, I kind of like counter this argument by using this, like, however, and there is another perspective as well. Similarly here, like, football is the most favorite game, however it may contribute to physical violence among the youth, right? For example, so the words like however, yet, still, nonetheless, but, less, more. So these are really helpful to rebuttal, to counter argue, to make counter arguments, right? So be creative, right? So there are different ways to be creative. One is using your imagination. So basically, what is the what are you talking about, and what do you think about the the future of the, you know the topic that you are actually describing, right? Use some kind of like imagination, something really out of box, right? And use appropriate metaphors. Sometimes they are very useful, like using a metaphor. If you are describing something, you can use metaphor, right? You can use different kinds of metaphors related to animals, or related to object, or anything, right? So, but not too many. If you are using too many metaphors, and again, it may be boring. So sometimes you can use famous quotes as well, for example, by different authors, right, from books, from articles that you are familiar with. So it could be really useful as well. So thank you very much for listening to me. And yeah, I'm happy to respond to your questions. Thank you. Thank you for listening to me. Any questions? Please feel free. Oh, thank you. Thank you, Sonia. So you can actually type in your question on the chat box as well. Okay, thank you. Okay, I think so. There is no question. So, and thank you again for joining, and stay tuned for next week's talk. That is on 31st of March. Okay, so thank you everyone.